Session 45 of the Law of One. Let's talk more about this raw contact and somewhat about wanderers today. Let's begin. Just like in the last video, in the previous session, this session 45, was excluded from the original books, and it's only found in its entirety in book 5. So if you're going to look in the original books, you're not going to find it there. You're going to see why, just like last session was specifically about Carla and how she was deteriorating with the contact. The session took a little bit of that, and there's a little bit of information that I wish they could have put in the original books. Not that anything was lost or anything, but there was some information that wasn't exactly, maintenance, contact maintenance as they call it. There were some questions about wanderers, which gives us a pretty good insight. But again, it was along the lines of Don, Carla, and Jim. So with that being said, the first question that we have, actually, I want to talk about a little bit of something else that happened in this session, which is funny, because in the re-listen version, you will find that Toby Wheelock, which is, again, the version that I use, which has everything. Toby Wheelock did a phenomenal job at transcribing everything that was on the cassette audios. And that includes something particular that happened in this session, which was that they got a delivery from some waterman, like water delivery, and the guy, even though they put a note of no interruptions, no disturb, it got ignored. And I don't have it in the slides, and I'm not going to read it, but if you go in the lawofone.info, you can find session 45, all the details at when they started getting the knocking on the door and the truck, just making noise and distracting the whole thing, until I think they even banged on the door, like the raw contact door. I don't even know how that happened. I don't know if it was like a door that led to the outside. It's just weird, but this guy was very insistent in getting in the house, or getting his water delivered. So that's something that's covered there. If you look in the lawofone.info, or if you happen to have, I don't think the re-listen version is on any books or anything, but it's funny. You just see really like a book, the honking of the truck, the guy knocking on the door, the screaming, and all that stuff. You're gonna see something when we approach that part, which I think is where it was. I'll look it up and I'll let you know, because there's one answer that Ron gives that it reflects this. So in any case, we can go into the first question again. This was after, I think it was a week. Let me just corroborate. This was April 6th, 1981. Well, this was 9 days after session 44, so they did take a good break, especially Carla, who needed it a lot. So that's 9 days of rest. And so the first question that we have is Don saying, could you give us an estimate of the instrument's physical condition for communications now that she is rested? And Ra says, the instrument's condition as regards the bodily complex is extremely poor. This instrument is not rested. However, this instrument was eager for our contact. So I note that Ra is saying, as regards the bodily complex. So that means, remember, we are a mind, body, spirit complex. It means that we have a complex of body, complex of mind, and a complex of spirit. So when they talk about the bodily complex, they're talking about the physical body that we have, the structure, our physical chemical body, and it's extremely poor. However, Ron says that she's not rested. I don't know why. She did take 9 days, but she was still not rested. I don't know what that means, but I do know that Carla was in a very fragile state, and that was just her nature, it seems, because she always said it in her books, and she describes even here in the Raw Contact in book 5 how she was when she was 12 or something. Around that age, she had like renal failure. Her kidneys were given up on her. She had some pulmonary disease, I think, too. I mean, she was very weak in terms of her body. So all of this was, I guess, taking a toll on her too, because we know that the Raw Contact was very demanding on her. So her body was, really, really sick. And Ra says that, she wasn't rested, but she was eager for contact, which again just shows her devotion to trying to do this contact, which in my opinion, it's very noble, but you have to take care of yourself first before you take care of others. And, devoting yourself to something like this, to work like this, is for other people. It's not for yourself. It's a pretty selfless act. However, you have to know how to take care of you if you want to help in the long run, people, which she did. She took advice, and she obviously lasted for a long time. I think she died in 2015. I don't know what age, probably 60, 75, says mid-70s, I would think Carla would be at that point. And, she was, even though she continued to be weak, she just was alive, and that's all that mattered, because she helped channel a lot. She trained a lot of channelers. She wrote books. And beyond all of that, she was just alive, being here, radiating that love and light that she represented. So I think that's more important than anything else. Just you being alive and well, and being happy and healthy. That's healthy in the sense not as sickness of the body, but healthy in terms of lower energy centers. That's what health means. You are a healthy person if you have your energy centers flowing, and that's all that matters. So in any case, the questions are going to be kind of fast, but the session itself, it's not going to be that long, I suppose, because it's not much to talk about. But Don says in question 2, did the period of abstinence from contact help the instrument's physical condition? Ra says this is correct. The probability of this instrument's development of what you would call disease, either of the pulmonary nature or the renal nature, which she did have problems in the past, was quite significant at our previous contact. You have averted a possible serious physical malfunction of this instrument's bodily complex. It is to be noted that your prayerful support was helpful, as was this instrument's unflagging determination to accept that which was best in the long run, and thus maintain the exercises recommended without undue impatience. So, Carla was feeling better in terms of what she was facing at that time. She was facing a lot of issues. I mean, it sounds to me like this was a development of a chronic disease, or cancer, could be. Maybe, I don't know, I'm just guessing here. But again, her kidneys and her lungs were significantly affected in the past. So they had kind of, averted that possible serious physical malfunction. Could be even death. She was, once you have chronic issues in one of your organs, and you continue to not pay attention to that, which in this case is just, the exercises that Ra gave to you need a little bit more than just diet and exercise. It's your mind really what's making your body, right? So you have to take care of your mind, and the mind needs rest. The mind needs distraction. The mind needs, enjoying life. You can't be, and even me saying that is wrong, or is not totally true. I don't know what anybody needs. Everybody needs to know themselves, to know what they need, so in this case, Ra had given, Carla this, and this is why I'm repeating it, which is we saw it in the previous session, that she had a, what do they say, like a preference, or she had an interest in a variety of things, and she should enjoy that. So, but in any case, the thing is that Ra says that it was also helpful that I guess Jim and Carla prayed a lot for her, gave those intentions. Again, it's not about the prayer itself. Like, oh, what kind of prayer did they do? It's about the intention of what you do. You could just be thinking, sending love and light, imagining love, light, or just, praying to God, Almighty, or you can just be meditating, and thinking about her in a loving way. It doesn't matter. It's just the intention of what you want. So that was helpful, and also her determination to accept, what was best in the long term, as opposed to, just a short term. I'm gonna die for this service. So she did create a little bit of conscience there, and the exercises recommended without undue impatience. Good to know. So Ra continues, says, it is to be further noted that those things which aid this instrument are in some way contradictory and require balance. Thus this instrument is aided by rest, but also by diversions of an active nature. This makes it more difficult to aid this instrument. However, once this is known, the balancing may be more easily accomplished. And this shows something interesting. Like, we have sometimes contradictory things that we desire, that we enjoy. And I'm going to get to a very short conclusion here in terms of what this means for us. But let me first discuss what they say. That there is a contradictory nature into what requires balance. Because, they say she could rest, but she'd also, she's benefited by rest, and she's also benefited by an active nature of doing things, right? So there's a balance there. You need to strike a balance between rest and activity, because you enjoy both and you can benefit from both. This is a contradictory nature, and I'll get to some other stuff. This makes it more difficult to aid this instrument because it is a balance that only she knows. There's nothing Ra or anybody can say to, it's like when they tell you eat healthy, I mean, only you know what is healthy. That's a long topic, but it seems contradictory sometimes, because one of the things that I learned as somebody who studied nutrition and biology for a long time in terms of the nourishment of the body and the function of the body is that you need the stress of certain things. In fact, a lot of things that we eat put a stress on our body because it's supposed to do that. Fasting is supposed to put a stress on the body. However, it's related to diet, but it's still, it's not about eating. However, it's a stress that you put on your body. And that's the thing, you have to have a little bit of stress in nutrition, like I said, and that's accomplished by you knowing what you need, what you want. So they say, it's hard to say because it depends on the individual. Just like in nutrition, I can tell you, eat vegetables and fruits, but it's not going to do it. No, sometimes you also need to, to eat some things that may shock your body, and make it work in different ways. Variety of foods is important too, not just stick with one thing, which I did for a long time. And, it's probably, it's a mental imbalance that comes in your mind. That's why a lot of people go into binge eating, because they have been restricting themselves too much. So you need, you need a balance into these things. It's not like, push one end and then the other end extreme. Like, that's not how it works. So, the balancing may be more easily accomplished once this is known. Once the person knows what it needs. And here I go to certain things, like say, I like to study a lot. I like to read books. I like to, watch documentaries. I like to, watch seminars and so on. And that's a really important thing. But I also like to play video games. I like to just sit down, look at nature, for a while, which is not meditation. It's not contemplation. I'm just sitting there, just thinking. I like to do that. You know, those are things that may be contradictory in nature, you know, in terms of learning. I'm just relaxing or playing or, you know, just talking to somebody. But that really brings a balance into your life, you know. And some people, when I say some people, I'm always including myself there in one way or another. We may like to just get really to the extreme. Like, okay, no, I need to learn about this and I need to devote myself, and that really just makes your mind go out of balance. You have to always know yourself. What is it that you want? You know, whatever you like doing. You like going for a walk, and it's like, oh, it's a waste of time. You know, people say that meditation is a waste of time. I think it's the only way to use time in meditation, because you're forced to the present, and it's the only time there is. But I digress. The point is that, you know, there's a good message for us to take here in terms of how to balance ourselves, which always changes. You know, I may play video games now, but it's not like I used to in the past, and that's because I don't want it anymore. I don't need it anymore. It's just like, let me relax. You know, I'll drink a cup of wine, you know, once in a while. And I may, you know, oh, you know, are you supposed to be drinking alcohol? Like, who cares? That's one of the stress that I found, you know, in my nutrition, because in nutrition they would tell you like alcohol is not good because it's toxic and so on and so on. But there is research that shows that the body, you know, needs sometimes a little bit of stress. Am I telling you to drink alcohol? No, you probably already do, but that's not the point. It's just to show that your body needs to activate those mechanisms, you know, to process alcohol, and you know, it's part of our body. It's there. But I'm not saying you should drink alcohol. It's just the different stressors that you may, you know, put in your body. Some of the things that we eat are slightly toxic, but the body needs that. You know, berries, believe it or not, you know, they have certain toxins, you know, that the body, it's not like you're getting intoxicated, but you put your body to certain stress. To each their own. That's why everybody has different cravings and different things. It's a long topic, but I'm going longer than I should here. Let's go to question 3. Balance. Balance is in everything. So whatever you are, whatever you like, whatever you think, you know, you enjoy, bring it on, but just in balance. Question 3, Don says, can you tell me if a large percentage of the wanderers here now are those of Ra? We're talking about the wanderers on Earth 1981. And Ra says in their typical answers, I can. Yes, I can. Are you asking me? Question 4, Don says, are they? I just think that's funny how they sometimes talk like that. Especially in the format that they were like, asking the questions and waiting for the long answer. Ra says in response, a significant portion of 6th density wanderers are those of our social memory complex. Another large portion consists of those who aided those in South America. Another portion, those aiding Atlantis. All 6th density and all brother and sister groups due to the unified feeling that as we had been aided by shapes such as the pyramid, so we could aid your peoples. That's phrased a little poorly, but I know what they mean. So yeah, Don asks, you know, can you tell me if the majority of people are from the Ra? You know, first of all, let's establish wanderers. Wanderers back in 1981, Ra said that it was about 65 million people. 65 million people of the population. I think it was around 4 billion people on Earth at that time. Now we have almost double that, so we would think at least that there has been and also Ra said there's a heavy influx right now of wanderers. I was born in 1982, so anybody who is my generation is and of course is interested in this material. I always say, like, come on, let's just be honest. If you're interested in this and you are resonating with the material, compare yourself to the vast majority of people out there who doesn't even know what chakras are, or energy centers, or densities of, let alone densities of consciousness. A lot of people in spiritual circles are very attracted to this because of the attraction of 4th density. And that is, it's fantastic. That's what we need. But there's few people who are interested in this material. I mean, look at the subscribers here. Look at the people, even I think the most popular person talking about the Law of One, and not specifically, but a lot of the Law of One, Aaron Apke. I mean, he gathers a lot of people. But there is only a few people who are interested in the Law of One, you see? And, the rest it's really cool stuff. And Aaron presents it amazingly, but, we're still not millions of people who are creating this community. I've talked to Gary Bean, the person in NLL Research, along with Jim McCarty and Austin Bridge. And, he expressed to me that the Law of One is still a kind of, in his word, an obscure material, obscure work. Obscure in the sense that, it's not out there, it's not presented. So that to me shows that people interested in this stuff are wanderers. What does that mean? It's a special quality to me. First of all, I have no idea who I am, so you will never hear me claim that I am a wanderer, starseed, whatever. I am a human. That's all I am. I'm really interested in this stuff. But I do recognize that a lot of people, the way they talk to me, it's like, the comments that you guys leave me sometimes, it's just like, it's so obvious, that you are remembering this. It's not like you're learning it for the first time. And the attraction to this energy of understanding, of view, of perception, of consciousness, it's beyond, most of the stuff out there. Just a little short here, parenthesis, my Spanish community had me read the Kybalion, I think it's pronounced that way, the work of Hermes Trismegistus, the Egyptian guy who gave the Hermetic principles and so on. And that material I always heard, I never read it, I was just not interested. And the material it's pretty renowned for, because a lot of people love it, and there's a reasons for that. So I read it, I got into it, I read it, and I found it fantastic. It's awesome. However, it's still like a introductory. They even say it, in the Kybalion. It was written by, it's still kind of unknown who wrote it, but I forgot his name, but they attribute it to one guy at the end of the 19th century who wrote it. But in any case, it's material that is for the interest of the people who are serious about this stuff and they just want to get into it, and then further material is required. But see, this material itself is still introductory. The raw material and other stuff, especially Buddhist teaching, to me Buddhist teaching is, I don't want to say beyond the raw material, but a lot more practical and useful for humans, because there's a lot of stuff that the raw material gives us that to me are not practical. To know how love, light, and free will created the universe, or science in general, is not that practical, to be honest. It's a wonder, to know, it's phenomenal, but hey, let's face it, none of that stuff is really relevant. The only relevant thing is what makes you know yourself, and nothing like Buddhist teaching for that. So, however, for people who are into metaphysics and so on, raw material is very, complete. It's a wholesome material in that way, that it just takes everything into consideration. So my point is that if you're interested, chances are you're a wanderer. That doesn't give you anything, special beyond, the recognition that you're here to not fool around. You're here to become the greatest, version of yourself there is. Of course, you came in with certain configurations and certain experiences that you want, a catalyst that was programmed and so on. But that for you is nothing, compared to who you are when you recognize who you are, if you consider yourself a wanderer, because you love this stuff and you're just so attracted to it. That just calls for, I'm going to call it responsibility, because that's the law of responsibility, actually, which makes you, once you have the responsibility to become it. So, just like I was telling Julie last night, it's a privilege to know to realize, to remember who we are, but it's also a humbling service that we provide not to others directly, but to others indirectly by radiating ourselves in the best way possible. Again, by knowing yourself and becoming that self. So that is, to me, why there is a heavy influx of wanderers, because they came here to alleviate, as in raw words, to alleviate the load of the planet, the load of the collective consciousness, just by radiation, just by simply being alive, even if they are covered by the veil and they're not in their own skin, so to speak. So, what do they say? Significant portion of sixth density wanderers are those of our social memory complex. Chances are, of the millions of wanderers that now exist here, I would estimate there are hundreds of millions at this point. That's just because I tie in the word or the phrase heavy influx of wanderers at this time. Ross said there was a heavy influx, a lot of wanderers incarnating. Plus it was 65 millions back in 1981. It's been more than 40 years. They keep coming, especially after 2012. There's a reason why they would come in from fourth density, or at least graduates from third density to fourth density that want to do their work here, which is something very likely to happen. But that requires a long refresher that I'm not willing to do on how we decide to move around from densities and graduation, harvest, and so on. But my point is that a lot of those wanderers are from the raw group. Why is that? Because we know that the majority of wanderers are from sixth density. And if Don is asking, where are these wanderers from? And Ross says, a significant portion of sixth density wanderers are from the raw group. Then they say another large portion consists of those who aided those in South America. It is thought or considered to be serious, at least Scott Mandelker thinks so. I believe it's so, and there's a reason for that. I think also the Dogons in Africa were visited by the Syrian sixth density social memory complex, because they always associate themselves with fish. And there is I forgot if they even have a name. It's so ancient. In Peru, they have the same symbol that the Dogons have, and it's a fish with some ornaments and stuff. And you can still find it. I forgot the name of it, but it's in Peru and in Africa. The Dogons, they have the same thing, and they claim, tradition claims that they were visited literally by aliens. Well, what we call aliens now. They were visited by higher beings who taught them, how to do things and this and that. This sounds like the work that those of the social memory complex that aided South America did, right? So, supposed to be Syrian. And another portion, those aiding Atlantis. I don't know who they are, but that's another social memory complex. Now, the rest of the answer that sounds a little bit confusing when they say all sixth density and all brother and sister groups, all sixth density. They're basically saying that all of those social memory complex, all are sixth densities, all are brothers and sister groups, due to the unified feeling that as we had been aided by shapes such as the pyramid, so we could aid your peoples. Basically saying, we're all brothers and sisters in that we're all sixth density, but also because we were all aided by the pyramids, and thus we all said, hey, if it worked for you and for you and for me, let's do it with this barbarians down here. Let's give them pyramids and see what happens. Yeah, they were kind of off a little bit with, our belligerent nature and our desire to dominate society. So, hey, well, you make mistakes. Even in sixth density, you make mistakes. So, if you consider yourself a wanderer, chances are you are from one of these social memory complex. And it's interesting to say another large portion are those who aided in South America, and another portion. So it seems like it's a significant portion. Let's call it 60-30-10, or 60-20-20 maybe. No, it has to be more. A significant portion, maybe 60% are raw, 30%, because they say those who aided Atlantis, or another portion. But in any case, it's a mix of those three social memory complex. If you consider yourself a wanderer, you may be from there. So take notes. You're here to pay for your mistakes for building the pyramids. Sounds so human. But no, you're here to have fun. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Just enjoy your life. Alright, Don says, question 5, can you say if any of the three of us are of Ra or one of the other groups? Yes. Don says, can you say which of us are of which group? No. I love Ra's answers here. Clearly they weren't very thrilled about this topic. And Don says, are all of us of one of the groups that you mentioned? It's a very clever way to ask what he wanted to know. And Ra says, we shall go to the limits of our attempts to refrain from infringement. Those, I correct myself, 2 are a 6th density origin, 1 a 5th density harvestable to 6th, but choosing to return as a wanderer due to a loving association between teacher and student. Thus, you 3 form a greatly cohesive group. Indeed, they do. So, I don't know. I would be speculating because of their personality to guess who was from where. I mean, again, Don wanted to know, can you tell us if we're all, I forgot. Let me reread it again. I have a very short memory. My RAM is very short. What do you say? You wanted to know if the 3 of them were from Ra or another group. Can you tell us what our social memory complex is? And they say, yes, we can. And they say, can you tell us, from which group? And they say, no. So basically, we can't tell you from where you are. Like that's an infringement of free will. You're not supposed to know this. They're breaking the veil for you. You're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to break it yourself and believe in it. Are you from Ra? Are you from those who aided South America or Atlantis? I don't know. What do you feel? That's the question. What do you feel? And do you trust yourself? Maybe you'll be changing every day. No, from the Atlantis. Then you learn something terrible on Atlantis. Oh, no. I'm from Ra. Never mind. That depends on you. So they say, we can answer that without, infringing upon free will. And say 2 are of 6th density origin. They don't say, from which social memory complex. 1 a 5th density harvestable, meaning that there's a 5th density entity in one of them 3 that was possibly harvestable, or they say it's harvestable, to 6th, but choosing to come back as a wanderer. So incarnating here as a wanderer because they had a loving association between teacher and student. So was this Jim and Carla? Was this Carla and Don because they had a loving association? Am I being human here by saying that the loving association between Jim and Don wasn't long enough? I don't know. Carla did stay for 15 years or so with Don, I think. And then Carla with Jim stayed for the remainder of her life, which was 30-something years. So, I don't know. Thus, you 3 form a greatly cohesive group. There's not much to say there. 2 of them were from 6. I don't know which one. I really don't know. But, what do you think? So, could Carla be from 5th, then a loving relationship with Jim being 6, or vice versa? Or Don being 5th? I don't know. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. What do you think? Let's see let's do a poll here if we can, and see what do you guys think. Alright. Yes, even if you're watching this months, years after I recorded this, leave it in the comments. It would be fun to have it there. Please, just say, what do you think so far? What do you think? Who's Don, Jim, and Carla in terms of densities of consciousness? I actually correct myself that I said before that I thought Jim was 3rd density and Carla 4th. And yeah, I didn't know about this part. So, this was sessions ago. Don continues with the session. Question 8. He says, can you explain the right and left ear tone and what I call touch contact that I continually get? Ra says, this has been covered previously. Please ask for specific further details. This was covered in the last session. The tones that Don was hearing on his left and right ear, actually his left ear, but they covered right. Now Don is asking that, so he rephrases and says, I get what I consider to be a tickling in my right and my left ear at different times. Is this any different as far as meaning goes as the tone I get in my right and left ear? Ra says no, that's not very different from what we explained before. Let's just reread this here because he's asking, is this any different as far as the meaning goes as the tone I get? Yes, the tone and the tickling is the same thing basically that we talked about in the last session. So Don says, why is the left ear of the service to self-contact and the right ear service to others? And this leads to an interesting answer. Ra says, the nature of your physical vehicle is that there is a magnetic field, positive and negative, in complex patterns about the shells of your vehicle. The left portion of the head region of most entities is, upon this time-space continuum level, on a negative polarity. That's quite interesting. So again, in session 44, Don asked about a ringing on his left ear. Ra said, that's negative contact. You're getting negative contact there. Then he asked more. I forgot what Ra said, but in any case, go watch it. You know, session 44, previous one. So Don is asking, is the tickling that I get, so basically everything that you feel, like I'm getting an itch right now on my right eye. Does that mean positive contact? Maybe. So now don't get obsessed, anything that gets on the left side, oh my god, I'm being contacted. You are both polarities. You have to accept this, you just have to discern, what's going on. But don't get obsessed, please. So, really good question, very scientific. Don says, why? Why does this happen? Like, what's the nature of this? And Ra says that it's the physical vehicle that has a magnetic field that has positive and negative. Now, it's a complex pattern, but it's generally, left, negative, right, positive. Remember, negative doesn't mean bad. Negative doesn't mean evil. Negative doesn't mean anything. It's just what makes you. And you discern from that. So, what type of person you are. You're going to get influence from both. For you to polarize towards a positive, you need to have been presented with a lot of negative stuff. That's just how it is. You cannot make a choice in polarity, in ethical polarity, for the positive intensely if you don't have a similar intense option, which is the negative. Does that make sense? I hope it does, because you have to be presented with both, and it's your choice. Remember, this is the density of choice, Ra says, Kuo says. So it's important to keep that in mind always. That's why it said, darkness, accept your darkness, your dark side. That's how you transcend. You go into the heart and accept yourself. You love yourself that way. This is not a game of let me see how good I can be. That doesn't work. It doesn't work that way. Anybody who is an advanced teacher will tell you that it doesn't work that way. You're not here to become the best person in the world. That does not exist. Simply, period. And if it exists, it's creating the equal amount of evil, because you're being so good that you're creating so much evil in the world by mind polarization. Your mind needs to create the negative polarity to feel positive. It's just how it works. So, yeah. The left portion of the head region of most entities. It's something to note when they say most entities, so not everybody, upon the time-space continuum level of a negative polarity. This is really cool, because time-space, okay? Space-time is the physical reality. Time-space is the metaphysical reality. And for this to be, the left side is on the negative, it's almost like we're navigating both polarities of time-space in third density, okay? So we have, it's not like, it's always on our left, because we are tuned into the negative from the left, and we're tuned into the right. again, this is not like the left side of you is totally negative and the right side is totally positive. But it seems that when they say complex patterns about the shells of your vehicle, right? That's the magnetic field. It's complex patterns. Think about it as vortices or vortex that exist around your body. Some of them are positive, some of them are negative in nature because of the way they circulate energy, right? And so, depending on your they call it the shells of your vehicle. This is like what's the word? I can't think of the word, but it's not dimensions. It's your. It'll come to me. It literally is your aura, okay? And your aura has different shells. So depending on that, you may have some positive on this side, a percentage, a low percentage here, maybe a higher percentage for some other people, but still some positive on this side, some negative on this side as well. But generally, you're tuned into the negative on the left and positive on the right. So that is time-space, because we navigate time-space. We are both. It's almost like saying the pocket inside your pants is part of the pants, but it's not. When you pull it inside out, then you've seen it from the outside, but it's still the inside. And if you put it inside, you still have an outside, but it's inside. So it's just how it is. I often say that we here in the physical reality are just like, pressed out of time and space, and that's just what we are. We're looking at time space being unified, and push out just means like, oh, I feel like I'm outside. I'm out of the world, but you are in the world. You are connected. Remember, your skin is a membrane that doesn't separate you from the world. Your skin attaches you to the world. You're attached to what? Breathing. Your pores are breathing. So there is a transaction between the air and you. You are part of the world. You are not part, you are the world in that sense. You are just an aspect of the world. So same in time space, you are an aspect of negative and positive. That's just the nature of being manifested. Not only in the physical, but in the metaphysical as well. You are both. And so it is your will and your consciousness that actually polarizes and brings you to either path. Either path it's totally fine, positive or negative, but you need to polarize towards one so you can go up in the densities of consciousness. Okay, so we're almost done here. Don says, can you tell me the purpose of philosophy behind the 4th, 5th, and 6th density positive and negative social memory complexes? Really good question here. Ross says, finally, we're at the end here, and I'll just finish it up. The basic purpose of a social memory complex is that of evolution. Beyond a certain point, the evolution of spirit is quite dependent upon the understanding of self and other self as creator. This constitutes the basis for social memory complexes. When brought to maturity, they become social memory complexes. The 4th density and 6th density find these quite necessary. The 5th positive uses social memory in attaining wisdom, though this is done individually. In 5th negative, much is done without aid of others. So, question is, what is the philosophy behind social memory complexes, positive or negative? Like, what's the deal with it? Why do we need social memory complexes? Well, we covered this already, and I think it was the last session when we talked about this, or maybe the one before, I forget. But we did talk about this already, and this has to do with the nature of, let's call not only the density, but also, remember, densities are an upstep, or let's say energy centers are a downstep of densities of consciousness, because your heart chakra is obviously love, right? But 4th density is also love. So 4th is the same thing, you know that. So when we compare our consciousness in terms of energy centers, we can see the same thing in higher densities. Now, what we can see in energy centers from our human perspective is that one deals with manifestation, red, okay? Root chakra, Malkuth, is it's the manifestation chakra. So it deals with the outside, okay, but in manifestation individually. Then comes life. Life deals with social, if you will. You have to become one with the environment. You have to become one with the organisms that surround you. And you can see this as, mammals depend on each other. This is the highest levels of second density, in my opinion. And I think I'm pretty close to truth here, or to the, I don't want to call it truth. I'm always wary of this words. You know what I mean. It's the highest level of intelligence and love that it's actually expressed by animals is seen in, compared to humans, of course, is in mammals. That's why I say it doesn't mean that, say birds don't have, some loving, of course they do, but it's just, you know what I mean. So it deals with communion, with communities and groups. And now third density, it's also like red, it's an individual thing. You don't need other people to say, learn the lessons here. You only need yourself to know yourself. Of course, other people are mirrors of yourself, quite bright mirrors of yourself, but they're not being you don't need them to grow, to go into the next density. And so it's individual again. Now in fourth density, it collapses into the group, and this is where we normally, on average, the vast majority, it seems, as Ra said, our fourth density is for social memory complex formation. And then from fourth, we go into fifth, and they denote this here. So this is why I'm saying all of this stuff, because the purpose of social memory complex is that of evolution. Just like, they say beyond a certain point, the evolution of spirit is quite dependent upon the understanding of self and other self as creator. This is fourth density. You have to learn this. You have to know. Even here in third density, you can learn this. You don't have to go to fourth density for that. You can see why. If you're listening to this, you can already piece everything together. And you can see why other selves need to be seen as creator for you to evolve, because you cannot continue on the path of separation until a certain point, unless you really separate yourself and you really believe, you delude yourself of being the God Almighty, in power of the universe, in control of the universe. But I digress a little bit there. The point is that in fourth density, we do need this, to understand it. It's crucial for us, for our evolution. And that's why fourth density is the density in which we form social memory complexes. It's needed. And then they say, this constitutes the basis for social memory complex, like I said, or social complexes. When brought to maturity, they become social memory complexes. This is fourth density. The fourth density and sixth density find these quite necessary, because again, just like 4 and 6 and 2, 4, 6, orange, green, and indigo are all dependent on social memory complexes, whereas 1 or red, 3 or yellow, and 5 or blue, they all require, they don't necessarily require a social complex, but they could benefit from it, of course. Like, we could do the same thing here, and obviously some third density populations in other planets, it doesn't seem like it's going to happen here. It still can happen. Hey, I'm not, the like Ra says, the probabilities, possibilities, vortices are not quite there, but it can happen. But it is possible. So I'm not saying that it's exclusively alone. Ra says that in the other session, or the one before, when they talked about this stuff, they said that fifth density can actually be accomplished by social memory complex, and not necessarily, individually, but it's your choice. You don't have to go to social memory complex. You can learn individually. And that's why they repeat here. The fifth positive uses social memory in attaining wisdom, though this is done individually. You can use the social memory, but you have to do it individually. This is because, once again, you are seeing yourself as co-creator. That's the key word, co-creator. And you have to see other people as co-creators. So now you're working, again, as mirrors, in the sense of who you are. You're realizing, who you are in relation to others, and how everybody can be co-creators. That's wisdom. That's just how you see every other entity as co-creators this whole universe. Third density, second density, first density, seventh density, logos, everything. They're all part of, they're all creators. Every single photon is a creator. So that's the wisdom that awaits us in fifth density. So we kind of recap that from, I think it was the last session. I believe it was. If not, don't blame me. I have a very bad memory when it comes to details like this. But yeah, that's all I got for session 45. Again, this was a session that wasn't covered in the original books. You're going to find in book 5 in its entirety. I think this is the only one, aside from 44, that was excluded like that. I don't really know. I'll see as I go through the sessions in the near future. And conclusions is pretty simple. We talked about wonders, and then I love talking about this last topic that has to do with what the energy centers are. When I woke up to the spiritual world, and for those who don't know, which by this time you should, I was not at all interested in spirituality. To me, everything was religion, some sort of religion for control and so on. So a couple of years ago, I had my awakening to spirituality. And one of the things, the reason why I'm mentioning this is because one of the things that aided me and really caught my attention was the chakra system, the energy centers. I didn't know anything about the law of one, but just really, it seemed structured to me and it seemed reasonable. And I could pin down everything in the world to that. So I took it as a field of study, the energy centers, myself. I don't know anything about them. I just read things online, and I saw behaviors and things, and I would judge people, on what I thought they were, and how their consciousness was, and this and that. And it was just fun, to do. So that's why I'm always excited to talk about this sort of evolution based on energy centers, healing through the energy centers, balancing through the energy centers. Everything is energy centers, because that's how the universe is expressed. We do have a system of duality, polarity, as it exists, from third density to fifth. In sixth density, we just get rid of it. But that the way we manifest and we see the world is through the seven rays, and that to me is quite important. So again, just recapping the wanderers thing, which is really important. I think knowing that you're a wanderer helps you understand why you're so weird, why you have been so, rebellious, outcast, different, so on, in terms of this, in terms of how you perceive things. I get messages all the time from people telling me, I feel so strange because I've always had this, visions, and I thought I was going crazy. But they're highly, intellectual people, so they bury it under some assumption, and it's almost like, I don't want to talk about this stuff because it's just too weird. People look at me strange. But now I understand it better. Now I can see how things relate, and now I can put into context, those experiences that I've had, or that I continue to have, or that I wake up in the middle of the night and I have this. Now it makes sense. Yes, because now you're recognizing who you are, and this is like I said, this is a model that helps you understand yourself, and I think that's beautiful. So again, the wonder part is just for you to know more who you are and what's your purpose here. It's the questions. Who are we? Those are the existential, philosophical questions. Who am I? What am I doing here? What's my purpose? What is this world? You can understand that by knowing the wanderer description. So I invite you to go into that. And lastly, yes, the energy centers, like I said, it's a field of study that it's important to just have your own interpretation, and to see the commonality in all the different, I would call it, belief systems that use them. And yeah, it's all about body, mind, and spirit, because those are the three things that create this world. The body is the physical one, the spirit is the metaphysical one, the mind is the one that creates both, in essence, or process both. It's the nexus point. The mind, that's why Buddhism is so important to me, because it's the science of the mind, the study of the mind. And if you know that, then you understand the spiritual side and the physical side, just by knowing your mind. But mind alone is not everything, like the Kabbalion would say. But I correct the term that they use, all mind in the Kabbalion, I say is consciousness. Consciousness is at the root of anything. In fact, even that is wrong. Everything is consciousness, but even that is wrong. Consciousness is the only thing there is. But yeah, we have to just, you know, get into terms with that. And I know society has made us believe something different, but I don't want to keep going off track here. That's all I got. Thank you so much for watching these videos as usual. I really appreciate it. I decided to do these videos for a reason, just because I wanted to put it out here on YouTube. I am super grateful that people are watching it. I am super grateful that some of you have been donating and contributing to me and my work as I continue to do this. It's not necessary, like I said. I made this commitment myself, and I say I would do it until the end, and I'll continue to do it just because I just love it. After the raw material, I'll continue to do, you know, what I do, and I really appreciate the support you guys give me. If you don't know, in the description you can find all that. It's not necessary, like I said. It just gives me, honestly, it just validates, you know, what I'm doing, and it's a validation that we all kind of sort of need. But again, it's not necessary. The best way you can contribute to this is just, if you haven't subscribed, please give a like and share it with people that may be interested. I don't promote sharing just everywhere, because I don't think this is, you know, for people that, or I guess, you know, to be more honest, this is not something that I think should be pushed on people. It's something that should be presented, you know, as everything else, you know, just presented there, just like I have on YouTube. I've never promoted this channel. Just leave it here. You know, you guys have been coming here. I have no idea how, if it was somebody who suggested it, or somebody, if you want to share how you came to the channel, let me know, because I'm always like curious, like, where are you guys coming from? You know, it's over 1,000 people already, and I really, you know, I just record this, put it on YouTube, and that's it. You know, recommendations, maybe YouTube has helped me, I don't know, but that's the best way. Subscribe, share, and yeah, notification bell I think helps with the algorithm of YouTube and so on. So, but that's it. More importantly, just be yourself and use this in a way that can be helpful for you. That's all I really care. That is enough to me. And that is enough for this video. I'll see you in session 46.